Hello. I'm so confused. What is happening? Kiva had broken the magic circle around the key beforehand after all. By the time Mador and Angie reached it, it was falling apart like the sand in an hourglass. They tried punching and kicking it to make it break faster, but nothing they did hastened the process.
だいぶ前に壊してくれたみたいだけど、それでもまだ時間をかけそうだな。
多分。
This is insane.
おそらく。あと5分も稼げれば。
Judging by the speed the magic circles were crumbling and the general appearance of the whole scene, it looked like it would be over soon. However, right now, could even 5 minutes be considered soon? They turned around. Beyond the bookshelf ravine was a universe. Even for Bador, who had seen Bito's fights many times over. The battle between Lambdadelta and Bernkastel was so mind-defying that he couldn't think of a single word to describe it. When he finally managed to find a word, it was a universe. Each time a battle between Lambdadelta and Bernkastel unfolded, a universe was created between the pair of them. Big bangs would take place, universes would be created, galaxies beyond number would be born and erased. Then, just when it seemed that a big crunch had occurred and that the universe had met its demise, there would be another big bang, and another universe would be created. It was like watching gods playing. The two witches created and destroyed worlds over and over again. Almost as though the two creators were fighting to prove that their universe was the right one. If you let your guard down in the slightest, then just watching this would steal your soul. That's how it felt.
Now 鍵が取り返せる。そしたらラムダデルタのくれたかけらで黄金鏡へ帰れるのよね。
エンジェは鍵を取ったらすぐ帰れ。俺はラムダデルタを放っておけない。
あの戦いの中に飛び込むっての？
だが放っておけねえだろ。二人の戦いは確かに常軌を逸してる。だが完全に拮抗してて互角なんだ。ってことはな、俺みたいな人間風情一人の火星でも何かを崩せるかもしれない。
A perfect balance maintained by two great powers can easily break by adding even a little strength to one side. However, actually rushing in there to add that little bit of strength would be literally suicidal. Like a moth flying into a furnace. It might burn up before it even reaches it.
鍵を手に入れたらエンジェはすぐに黄金鏡へ飛んで帰れ。向こうもいつまで持ちこたえられるかわからない。
みんな戦ってるのに私一人だけ帰れない。
そうだな。これはお前の戦いなんだ。だからお前は戦え。みんなと一緒に死ねなかったことを悔やみながらその気持ちに打ち勝って未来に生きるんだ。それをお前は決意したはずだ。
Angie had no words to respond with. Her brother and everyone else would probably die. So she wanted to die in the same place and at the same time as everyone else. However, that could not be allowed, and she mustn't wish for it. She had already made up her mind. She had sworn to live in the future without turning back to look at everyone's deaths.
黄金鏡に帰ったらベアトに鍵を見せろ。するとベアトはお前の前に2つの扉を示す。そしてお前に簡単な謎かけをしそのどちらかを開くように。それが俺のゲーム版の最後のゲームだ。
2つの扉。
2つのうち片方はお前を未来へ導く。大丈夫。今のお前なら絶対に間違いない。そしてそれをくぐったら扉が閉まるまで後ろを振り返るな。
どうして振り返っちゃいけないの？
扉が閉まれば俺たちの運命はお前には分からない。つまり俺たちは 猫箱の中に閉ざされる。
猫箱に閉ざされた運命は無限の真実を持つ。
そういうことだ。俺たちはボロクソに負けたかもしれねえし、奇跡の大逆転で生き残るかもしれない。つまりお前という未来の魔女に俺たちの決着を観測させずに未来に送り出せれば、俺たちには勝機があるってことだ。だがお前がいつまでも俺たちを見ていたら、お前は俺たちが全滅するところを見ちまう。そうなりゃ 100% の敗北が確定だ。だからお前は俺たちに勝利の奇跡を与えるためにも、扉をくぐったら決して振り返っちゃいけない。いいな。だから俺はラムダデルタを助けに行くのさ。その俺の勇姿を見送って黄金鏡に帰れば、それがお前の中での俺の最後の姿になる。
お兄ちゃんたちの勝敗は猫箱に閉ざされる。だから絶対に負けない。
そういうことだ。だから振り返るな。もうじき鍵が手に入る。一目散で黄金鏡に帰るんだ。だから今のうちに手短に未来のお前に俺からメッセージを送る。いいか、忘れるなよ。よく心に刻んどけよ。いついかなる時もな、生きる希望を捨てるんじゃねえぜ。俺たちはいつだってみんなお前の後ろにいるんだ。お前が信じてさえくれりゃ声だってかけられるんだ。いいな、信じろ。奇跡はな、信じれば絶対に叶うから。
At that moment, Lambdadelta and Bernkastel were wrapped in a massive explosion. Surely one of them had delivered a powerful blow. There were no further explosions, so that strike must have decided the match. When the smoke clears, who will be left standing? The magic circle sealing the key still needed several minutes to dissolve.
Mada, いる? 私の愛しいラムダデルタ。
All that came into sight was Bernkastel. There was no answering voice from Lambdadelta. If this was a sign of her victory, it did not cause Bernkastel's expression to grow any brighter.
残念よ、ラムダ。あなたとなら二人で宇宙が築けると思ってたのに、残念。本当に残念。
Bernkastel was still focusing all her nerves on the battle, so she took no notice of Battler and Angie by the key. However, she would probably notice soon, and then there would be nowhere to run. I didn't read that. The last section of the magic circle was starting to fade away. However, almost cruelly, the final circle went slower than the rest. Seeing that, any hopes that it would dissolve in a minute, or maybe a few dozen seconds, were crushed absolutely. Battler readied himself.
俺じゃああはいかねえだろうがな。今度は俺の出番のようだぜ。
お兄ちゃん。
偉いぞ、エンジ。よく止めなかった。
With tears still pouring down her face, Angie lovingly rubbed her cheek against the hand that had been patting her head.
また子猫たちを集めなきゃ。バトラも一緒にいると思ってたのに、その姿がないのはおかしいわ。あんなやつ一人でも残しておけば、靴に入り込んだ小石程度には厄介だものね。
The smoke cleared completely, and they saw a huge cloud of candy bits floating around like it was Lambdadelta's corpse. A star-shaped cookie bounced off of Bernkastel's head. It was missing one of its points, giving it a lonely feeling.
ラムダデルタ、私と共に生きなさい。私の中であなたは私と一つの宇宙になるの。
Bernkastel chewed the cookie and swallowed it.
これで私たちは永遠に一緒よ。愛してるわ、ラムダ。私
私もよ、ベルン。
Bernkastel's stomach suddenly swelled like a balloon. The bulge rose from her stomach to her throat and exploded like a firework from her mouth. From Bernkastel's mouth spewed fireworks, sparks, fragments of candy.
直せないの？猫の頃の習性は。怪しいお菓子を拾い食いしちゃダメでしょ。
Bernkastel doubled over even more, still spitting up an exploding firework. The birth of a small universe from this sweet had hit her directly from the inside of her stomach. Even Bernkastel couldn't withstand that. As Bernkastel repeatedly vomited fireworks so violently that it seemed her guts would spill out, her body flickered in and out of existence, and she glared at Lambdadelta with a terrifying expression. Her body was flickering because she had taken so much damage that even maintaining her form was now difficult, and letting the text beyond the text box.
はしたないわ、ベルン。お姿が乱れていてよ。ラムだ。ちょっぴり負けてあげちゃおっかなって気分になってたの。でもやめたわ。あんたと一つの宇宙になっちゃったらベルンは二度と私に愛をささやいてくれないもの。
そうね、私釣った魚に餌はあげないたちだもの。
知ってるわ。だからベルンは美しく輝くのよ。思わせぶりな仕草を見せるのに決して誰にもこびることはない、気高い猫の女王のように。
あんたを段ボールに変えて側面揃えて私の爪研ぎにしてあげるわ。
あんたこそ三味線にして一回弾いたら飽きて押し入れに入れて埃を積もらせてあげるわよ。
The ghost tsunami had swallowed up everything, but sea spray was still flying about. The Greeks resisted the ocean that was trying to cover them, and were smashing waves, left and right. The Seven Sisters of Purgatory and the Inquisitors of Heresy specialized in close-range combat and were rapidly building a mountain of corpses. The witches fought hard too, but they would have preferred to fight at a distance if they could. Illusions alone wouldn't be enough. In these battle conditions, all the humans were thrust right into the center of the fight. Everyone in the Shiromia family displayed a fighting spirit equal to the witches and guarded their backs. Even humans are not powerless. They have guns. If the ghost supported fantasy, they could use these as the ultimate anti-magic weapons. If the ghost supported mystery, they could use these in a much more obvious way. Those .45 clunk. Bolt bullets deliver fatal wounds to each and every ghost they struck.
死に損ないどもがいつまで抵抗しやがるんですか。いい加減その辺で沈みやがれです。後ろ宮
沈めと言われればあがきたくなるのが後ろ宮よ。小娘、お前に語れるほど後ろ宮甘くはないわ。
あんたなんざ1986年以前に死んでるでしょうが、はしゃぎすぎなんですよこのクソじじい。
Erica's razor-sharp sight buried itself in Kinzo's chest. It dug straight into his heart, but the daring smile on Kinzo's face didn't even falter.
ほう、我が死を猫箱の外の誰が観測したというのかな。あれは不滅なり。不滅なり
The punch containing the entirety of Kinzo's last spark of life sent Erica flying.
お父さん、お父さん、しっかり
踏み越えて行け、我が屍。後ろ宮家は振り返るな。
As Erica tried to deliver the finishing blow, Kraus stepped in between them, blocking the way.
親父殿に代わって私がお相手しよう。
おや、無能投資家の大先生ではございませんか。よくもまあ儲からない話ばかりを見つけて散財なさるものです。
失礼。靴紐が解けてはいないか。
Erica tried to look down at her feet, but what she saw was Kraus's left fist. Kraus's left uppercut made Erica float in the air. Not by magic, but by the simple laws of physics. For an instant, Erica saw the moon.
私は投資家としては無能だろう。だがボクサーとしての才能は大学時代の友人たちが証明するだろう。お前ごとき小娘に我が後ろ宮の全てを否定することなどこの後ろ宮クラウスが許さん。
雑魚が
カノンは幻想。この船出術が生み出した幻想の
学園祭で私はカノン君をみんなに紹介したぜ。サクに、ヒナに、他にもみんなに、友達みんなが証明する。お前らの勝手な想像で私たちの仲を勝手に決めつけるんじゃねえぜ。
Jessica's body blow beneath the goat's massive body cave in.
お見事です、お嬢様。このような窮地でよくそれだけの力を。そりゃそうだぜ。だって私今死んでもいいかなって思っちゃってる。カノン君に背中を預けて初めての共同作業だもんな。それがケーキカットじゃないのが残念だけどさ。
Jessica laughed embarrassed. She looked even more relaxed than she had on stage at the school festival.
なら僕たちはケーキ以外のものを切断しましょう。いちいちカノン君が言うことはかっこつけすぎなんだよ。だがそれがいい。
The massive bodies that rushed at them, trying to deny their relationship and their very existence, had two choices: be sliced or be struck. Each time one of those bodies hit the floor, it became proof that the two of them existed. The ghost's lock-sized fist buried itself in George's face. This was the middle of a massive, confused battle. There was no way to dodge an unexpected attack like that.
ネクラな引きこもり、いいと思う。僕への評価はどのようなものでも甘んじておけ。
George had indeed been hit with a fist right to the center of his face. However, he didn't bend over backwards, not even an inch. The ghost started to wonder what it was he had hit. Hadn't he punched a human made of flesh? It was as though he had slammed his fist into a steel wall, and it was his fist that was hurting. However, the goat was too scared to move his fist from George's face. After all, if he did, the expression on that face would probably be too terrifying. George pressed his hand against that fist.
僕の学生時代の同期たちが証言するな。確かに僕はネクラで社交的な人間じゃなかった。でももう一つとても重要なことを証言するだろう。
George was only grabbing the goat's massive fist in his tiny hand. However, that fist was being crushed as though it had a vice around it. Even though the other hand was tiny, the goat couldn't even move his fist.
後ろ宮ジョージは自分に対する一切のことで喧嘩をした試しはどのような挑発にも逃げ回る臆病な少年だった。誰もがそう証言するだろう。でも喧嘩を一度もしたことがないとは
誰も証言しない。
I accepted the fact that someone as pathetic as me would be.
だがそんな僕に味方してくれる人へのあらゆる挑発と挑戦を断じて一度たりとも僕は許したことはない。
Dago's broken teeth flew through the air. George's furious speed split the heavens. Dago's filthy finger touched Shane's back. That finger exploded and boiled away.
私のジョージさんへの愛は純粋で高潔です。ジョージさんは私の記した手紙のすべてを保管なさっているでしょう。それらをご覧いただければ証明できるでしょう。
The blazing red light charred the goat's entire body. Shan slowly turned around, her face full of rage and contempt.
愛を知らぬ哀れな観測者よ。お前にはミステリーは愚か、人の心を読む資格さえもありません。起きえなさい。
An absolute barrier rose up around Shan, burning up the goats around her with its flames.
そうだね。確かにマリアたちは死んでいるかもしれない。でもね、だからって誰にもマリアたちのことを批判することはできない。マリアとママの愛は誰にも否定できないんだもの。
Maria smiled, showing her teeth, and performed her job without even looking at her hands. Then she tossed the fully loaded rifle straight up into the air.
来なさいよ。
Rosa, who stood back to back with Maria, caught it without even turning around. No, that wasn't all. Maria had passed the gun to her mother perfectly without even looking back. Rosa's head was pointed at the ground as she stroked the trigger with her index finger.
私とマリアに愛を疑うやつは前へ出なさいよ。
The crowd of goats, cowed by Rosa's ferocity, didn't get any closer to her.
じゃあ私が否定してあげます。浮気性のあんたはいつだって男のところを遊び歩いてマリアを一人ぼっちにしてました。
マリアの日記にはそんなこと一言も書いてないもん。あんたが一番知っているでしょうが。
ローザはあんたを愛してなんかいない。産んだことさえ後悔してるクソったれな母親じゃないですか。
Erica was peering at the unfeeling moon, the taste of metal in her mouth. For a moment, she didn't realize what was happening. Was that cold feeling on her back the ground? Huh? Why am I lying down? And wasn't the moon full? Why isn't it now? Come to think of it, my teeth hurt. There's something cold and hard there. Then she figured it out. She was lying sprawled on the ground with a gun barrel shoved into her mouth. And the thing splitting the moon was the angry king of wolves protecting his child. The gun barrel exploded inside her mouth, shattering her medulla oblongata. But it was only her afterimage.
恐ろしい女です。こいつ本当に人間。
Erica, who had escaped death at the last moment by leaving an afterimage, found a metallic flash right before her eyes, which had been there even before she reappeared. The fountain pen went right through Erica's eye, crushing it. Of course, that was another afterimage. However, when Erica escaped and reappeared somewhere else, a heel was already there waiting for her. From the ghost's perspective, several afterimages of Erica Erica seemed to be appearing at once, all of which were pierced by Rosa at the same time.
次に行ったら本気で殴るか。
ママは強いんだよ。わかんない。
And so, Erica couldn't reappear anymore. At the very least, not within Rosa's range of attack. Erica put a lot of distance between her and Rosa, reappearing in midair.
こいつら、何なんですか？わけがわからない。
Erica's animal instincts made her turn her head slightly to the side just in time. Where her head used to be, there was an odd shower of sparks. It wasn't magic. It was a real physical phenomenon caused by lead smashing against lead. To think that two bullets shot from different angles could have flown with impossible precision at where her head once was, so that both of them hit and bounced off each other like billiard balls.
あら、惜しい。
悪いな。俺たちの趣味は親玉狙い。
私たちクレイは得意よ。あまりのんびりお空を飛ばない方がいいんじゃないかしら。
Two of them spun their rifles in exactly the same way at exactly the same time, reloading them in a manner that put old westerns to shame, then pointed them back up at where Erica was in the sky.
この化け物どもが！
Once again, their accurate shots plunged through the forehead of Erica's afterimage, bouncing off each other like billiard balls with a shower of sparks. This time, Erica appeared far behind them. She had to admit it. She had been forced to escape to a place outside the range of those guns fired by humans. Then, the light from the moon was blocked. The place she had fled to so rapidly exploded, sending chunks of rubbish flying. A massive longsword had been plunged into the ground. It was Dwana's.
おや、私のお友達じゃありませんか。
She had dodged by a hair, but this bulky, brutal longsword was more of a cannonball shaped like a sword than something for cutting with. Even though she dodged it, the blast of air pressure made her eardrums throb. Dwana was serious. She seriously intended to smash Erica to bits.
どうしたんです？怖い顔しちゃって。もう少し可愛い顔ができればいいのに。
楽しいですか？人の夢や幻想を打ち壊すの。
楽しいに決まってるじゃないですか。それこそが知的蹂躙の醍醐味でしょうが。
あなたは邪悪な人です。しかしそれでも同情できる邪悪だと信じていました。
あんたに同情を頼んだ覚えはありませんが。
あなたを直ちに切り伏せなかったこと、それが今日を招いた私の罪です。
Dwana's hair bristled with rage. The sight this expression on one of her old friends pinned her to the spot.
痛みさえ分からぬうちに私があなたを解放しましょう。あなたがこれ以上の罪を背負わぬようにです。
The force of anger that welled from Dwana's horrible whole body struck Erica, or rather, the swirl of blasting winds from Dwana's massive longsword sent her flying. A cannonball at the blade repeatedly cracked the ground just after Erica left the leg, so it almost looked in the air, as though Erica was jumping back, smashing the earth beneath her huge jump.
我が眠れ安らかにです。
What is happening? The great longsword split the air again, pulverizing the ground. However, this time Erica was nowhere to be seen. Where did she escape to? Erica had broken the barrier of the Golden Wind, landing on a ship whose bow was barely in sight. Practically speaking, she had run away. Fully aware of this, Erica howled, her face contorted with humiliation. I can't say words. Her shoulders heaved with her breathing, and she even forgot to fix her hair. The scythe fell from her hand and landed with a clank to the floor. So much reading, the sound brought her back to her senses.
誰ヤギども、何をぼさっと見てやがんです。肛門開け。断種、概念否定炸裂弾、無標準無感染射撃、ぶちかませ。
The warships that had fallen into the Golden Land opened their gun ports one after another, and then they all fired at once in a scattered mess of cannonballs. The hundreds of explosive rounds they fired would negate the concept of anything or person they touched, smashing them into little bits and setting them ablaze with flames. The battlefield full of writhing ghosts became a fire. The cannonball smashed the armor. The once beautiful garden maze was burned down bit by bit, and the fleeting gold butterflies were wrapped in flames, burning into nothingness like little scraps of paper. This was no longer a battlefield where two sides fought for victory. It was just a confused, hellish pot of blood falling apart. The Golden Land was being torn apart. The once beautiful rose garden was filled with exploding fires. Rose petals were scattered without pity. There were flying bits of flesh, blood, fangs, and jaws, shrieks, and half-crazy screams. And even amidst this hellish swirl, the goats and the dead continued to fight. As seen from the top of the boat, this was hell without a doubt.
全艦闘病、怒りを下ろせ。
When Erica yelled, the goats on the boats ran around frantically, and one by one, massive anchors hanging by chains were thrown from the ship's bows into the earth below. Those anchors smashed through not only the ground, but the bottom of the Golden Land itself, digging in with their wedge-shaped legs.
Erika! おや、ベアトリーチェさん。何しろこの大混戦。 あなたを見つけられず途方に暮れておりました。
Beatrice landed on the front tip of the warship, facing off against Erica, who stood on the bow.
貴様は許さぬ。この場でわらわが討ち取ってくれるわ。
Vito jabbed with the kite. It transformed into a beautifully intricate golden longsword.
いいでしょう。 望むところです。決着をつけましょう。
Erica threw her scythe up into the air. When it returned to her hand, it had become a sword similar to Vito's. The nearby goats crowded around Erica, trying to support her.
手出し無用です。それよりお前たちは怒りの巻き上げを黄金鏡を根元から引き裂いて粉々にしてしまいなさい。
Aye, aye, sir. The ghosts bowed and rushed to their posts. The several dozen ships had lowered their anchors, digging into the base of the Golden Land. Soon, they were going to try and pull them up, tearing the Golden Land to pieces. Reading so much more, most of them were getting tired.
エリカー！貴様に我が最後の決闘の名誉くれてやる！
Vito raised her sword, bowed in the ancient fashion, and waited for her point. Erica kicked off her shoes violently and slowly walked up to the tip of the boat barefoot. Then, in accordance with Vito's rules, she bowed back. It was a duel on the prow of the ship that pierced the sky. Below, the crowd of ghosts was being blasted away by the indiscriminate cannonballs, burned up and crushed in the panorama of this world end. By now, it would be stupid to wonder whether anyone from the Shirimiya family was still alright. Yes, it truly was the end of this world. The end of the Golden Land. Grounded dust filled with flames. The golden rose garden was burning spectacular, with bits of fire and golden splashes flying about. The ground creaked as fissures ran through it. Through to the base of the golden land, all the ships started pulling up their anchors at once. Crowds of Uminekos used all of their monstrous strength to lift them. The anchors that dug into the golden land's base spread cracks throughout the entire golden land. Not just the ground, but the air itself was filled with cracks, and shards of gold fell down everywhere. The golden land's end was adorned with flames of hell streaking gold cracks with fire and ephemeral gold. Atop the boat's prow, Vito and Erica looked down on this, their swords crossed and sparks flying between them.
すごい光景じゃないですか。ふさわしいと思いませんか。あんたの物語の終章。
黄金鏡は終わるだろう。わらわも果てるだろう。だが我らが確かにここにあった事実を誰にも消せぬ。エンジェは至った。未来の魔女は使命と希望を持ち、もうじき旅立つだろう。すでに我らは成し遂げている。あいにくだな、グルドエリカ。この戦、すでにわらわたちが勝利しているわ。
This was a duel between the master of the illusion called the Golden Line and the witch who controlled truth. The earth split behind them. The Golden Land was torn up. The catbox known as the Golden Land was ripped apart, and the nothingness below peeked out through the cracks. The scrambling crowd of ghosts fell through the gaps and were swallowed by the sea of nothingness. Vito's friends were among them. They helped each other, lent a hand to each other, unwilling to sacrifice anyone until the final moment. Still, what a romantic and fragile illusion is the end of the world. The ground shattered and sank. It fell apart into the ocean of nothingness. None could survive. None could be saved. This was destruction. As the comrades and arms fell into the sea of nothingness, they looked up one last time and prayed. They prayed that the master of the Golden Line would leave proof that the Golden Line had indeed existed. However, Vito didn't look down at them. They wouldn't have wanted her to.
こここそは我らが黄金鏡、無限と黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ。ここにあり。我らは知れど、それは敗北にあらず、そなたが生き証人となれ。その胸にわらわの切っ先にて我らの証刻みつけてくれようぞ。
さようならベアトリーチェ。このクソったれな無限ゲームもこれでおしまいです。地獄へ落ちろ、この幻が。
Lambdadelta and Bernkastel's fight to the death had passed through its phase as a dynamic clash of fireworks, and was now a clash that was quiet and motionless. These two witches, who possessed power on an entirely different level, may have been truly equal in strength. The battle could only be resolved by mutual consent if one of them lost interest or found some reason for wanting to lose. Since both were putting their all into the fight without yielding a bit, they were absolutely and completely equal.
Lambdadelta、あんたが味方でよかったわ。
くそ、もう少しなんだ。早く砂になっちまえ。ふざけた魔法人め。
Battler got irritated and punched the magic circle, but there was nothing he could do except continue to watch over it. After all, the only way to dissolve it was by waiting. However, the pair of them still felt relief, if only a little. Lambdadelta really was strong. Even in a battle this spectacular, she fought on an even footing. No, if you considered how confident each side looked, she seemed to have a slight advantage in Battler's eyes. She would probably manage to buy them enough time. Angie would take the key and return to the Golden Line. They just had to endure a bit longer. However, they had no way of knowing what Lambdadelta's fate would be after this. She had disobeyed the Senate, the highest level witches in existence. Something brutal probably awaited her. However, even knowing this, Angie had to step forward into the future without looking back. That was the single duty given to her, the Witch of the Future.
お兄ちゃん、あれは何？遥か向こうから何か近づいてくるわ。
まずいぞ。まさか敵の増援か。
Lambdadelta and Bernkastel were glaring at each other, so they didn't notice. Heading towards them from the distance were several emerald glints. That light proved that they were enemies.
でもほんの数匹だけだわ。あの程度ならラムダデルタの敵じゃない。
All of the cats so far seemed like fish in a school, giving the impression that they'd be terrifying as a group, but not much of a problem by themselves. However, there was something different about the lights approaching them now. They were approaching in a beautiful, ordered formation, like a constellation. Bador quickly realized that this was something new.
我が巫女よ、そろそろ鍵の準備が必要な時間ではなかったか？
Just by her tone, Bador was able to tell how great a witch this was. The black cats that surrounded her in a graceful and systematic constellation were all wearing large capes with elegant designs. It looked as though great overlords from many worlds had been transformed into cats, leaving only their capes untouched. What Bador imagined was quite true. That was exactly what had happened. These were the overlords from many worlds that formed Federine's personal guard. Their bodies took the form of cats merely as a sign of respect to their master, who took the form of a human. These were entirely different from the pack of wild cats that served Bernkastel.
アウアウローラ、あら、もうそんな時間だったの？
客を多少待たすのもまたパーティーのもてなし方の一つではある。私はあまり好まぬのだがな。
As she said this, her eyes flicked to Lambdadelta. The latter bowed hurriedly. Though Lambdadelta grinned, she was also sweating, her brow furrowed with tension.
久しぶりであるな、ラムダデルタ卿。
ご機嫌うるわしゅう、大アウローラ卿。
ここは今日をもてなすにふさわしい場所ではない。会場への道を間違えられたか？ならば私が自らパーティー会場にご案内しよう。
それは光栄ですわ、大アウローラ卿。
Federine Augustus Aurora, the legendary Great Witch. It is said that she surpassed the level of witches, becoming a creator, and that, upon reaching this forbidden plane, she was cursed with a deadly ailment. However, in life, she once turned her pet cat into a witch. They say that the second witch wanders the sea of fragments endlessly, searching for any fragment that can revive her master from the pits of death called boredom, if only for a moment. And so, the cat revived her master, revived the sacred witch who had reached heights none should reach. Just as witches look down and mock humans from a higher world, calling them pieces on a game board. So she looks down at and mocks the realm of witches from an even higher world, calling them pieces on a game board. If a witch's strength is measured by the height of the world they are capable of reaching, then she was like a witch come back from the realm of the gods, one who had touched the highest forbidden heights and survived. Was there any chance of winning against her? No. Lambdadelta was unable to choose either victory or defeat by her own will.
我が巫女よ、友人と戯れるのは後にして、今は仕事をしてくれぬか。鍵の準備をせよ。
わかったわ。
途中でお使いを忘れてしまう天真爛漫さも猫の魅力である。そうは思わぬか、ラムダデルタ卿。
Lambdadelta didn't say anything, but hung her head low. From this position, it seemed that the key's seal would dissolve at any second. However, Bernkastel would probably find Bador and Angie before that. Once they got their hands on the key, they could leave this place immediately. Of course, this was assuming that they did so before Bernkastel and Federine found them. Bernkastel mustn't be allowed to move from this spot.
ゲームセットね、ラムダ。私は大アウローラ教の巫女よ。感激の魔女は朗読の巫女に保護を与えることを忘れてはいないわよね。
Lambdadelta still stood slumped over, without answering. The Witch of the Eater-Going gave protection to her reader Mikos. If Lambdadelta attacked Bernkastel, who was Aurora's Miko, then the Great Witch Aurora would follow her contract, prevent what she considered an attack against herself, and respond accordingly.
取引しましょう。
何をよ。
バトラはどこに隠れてるの？素直に白状したら全て水に流してあげるわ。
奇跡の魔女のあんたがバトラごとき小さな駒を恐れるの？
奇跡の魔女だからこそよ。あんな小石のようなやつでも起こす奇跡があることを私は侮らないの。
その小石が今じゃ奇跡の魔女に大出世したものね。
もう一度聞くわ。バトラはどこ？残念よ、ラムダ。それが返事のようね。
Bernkastel turned her back on Lambdadelta. Then she told her master that she was leaving to prepare the key, and she started swimming towards the key room. If I let her go any further, she'll find Bador and Angie. Bador readied himself. This time, it was his turn to become a sacrifice. Even though he was nothing more than a single pebble, he could still put out an eye. The candy firework exploded right in front of Bernkastel.
ラムダ、あんたは本当にバカだわ。
ラムダデルタ。
やっちゃったわ。バトラ、エンジェ、あとは頑張りなさいよ。
The cat overlords changed their formation, becoming a ferocious constellation that surrounded Federine. Then, each drew the most terrifying of magic circles from their respective worlds, and began to chant.
私は少し混乱している。我が巫女よ、そしてラムダデルタ教よ。これはどういう余興なのか。
ラムダは私が鍵を取りに行くのを邪魔したいみたいよ。
ほう、それはどういう意味なのか。
その意味がわかんないなら、フェザリーヌ、あんたちょっと酔っ払ってるんじゃない？酔いざましが必要なんじゃないかしら。
Lambdadelta bluffed as well as she could. Her fingertips were shaking slightly.
巫女への攻撃は主への攻撃とみなす。そなたも知らぬわけではあるまい。
知ってるわ。そのルールによると、私はあんたたちとやっぱり戦わなくちゃならないわけだわ。
ほう、私の巫女がそなたの巫女に失礼をしたか。ならば詫びよう。しかし教えてはくれぬか。今はそなたは巫女を持たぬはず。そなたにはいつの間に巫女がいたというのか。
それがね、いっぱいいるのよ。30人か40人くらい、もっといるかしら。このラムダデルタ、相手が誰だろうと巫女に売られた喧嘩は全部買い取っちゃうんだからね。そいつらはみんな絶対のハッピーエンドを信じてる。この絶対の魔女がそんな絶対を信じて頑張ってる連中をね、見捨てられるわけがないでしょ。
そなたの物語も嫌いではない。我が感激に値する。しかし今の私は感激者でなく 出演者である。我が巫女の親友であることを知るから一度だけ忠告する。この舞台を降りるがよい。我が観覧席にそなたのための特別な席を設けさせよう。
あんたの物語と私が感激してる物語のどちらが面白いか考えているわ。
答えを聞こうぞ。
バトラたちの物語の方が100倍面白いわ。悪いけど今年の助演女優賞は私がもらっとくわ。あんたたち最後の人気投票は私に入れなさいよ。最低でもトップ5よ。いいわね。
どこ見て言ってんのよ。
As Lambdadelta pretended to joke around, she calmly focused on the one weak point she could see. If she had a chance for a single attack, then a 1 in a billion shot at victory existed. It was that horseshoe-shaped memory device floating around Featherine's head. Without that, she couldn't preserve her own existence. Destroying it was impossible. But if Lambdadelta could just jar it enough, she might be able to make it bug out. At least once in the past, Featherine's memory device had been damaged, and her personality and appearance had changed. However, she was aware of that herself, and probably wouldn't let that happen again no matter what.
よかろう、ラムダデルタ家。そなたの脚本が準備できたならいつでも参られるがよい。
脚本なんて簡単よ。たった1行。華麗でキュートなラムダデルタ様が悪の黒幕アウアウローラを一撃でぶっ倒す。
愚かなラムダ。そこまであなたが愚かとは思わなかった。
猫たちは手出し無用。ラムダデルタ教より献上されるこの勇敢なる物語に対し、私自らが褒美を取らせよう。勇敢なるそなたにふさわしい物語と結末を褒美に取らせよ
メザリーヌ・アウグストゥスアウアウローラ
Lambdadelta summoned magical power from her whole body and raised it in a mass above her head.
う。すまぬ。
Then, the world's time stopped.
そなたの脚本は採用しない。なぜなら
Rather than time stopping, it was more like the flipping pages of a book had stopped. In this motionless world, closely packed letters appeared.
この先の脚本を記すのは私であるからだ。
It was a tale that had been written up to this very moment. Feathering Augustus, Aurora. Lambdadelta summoned magical power from her whole body and raised it in a mass above her head. That was where the paragraph ended. In this frozen world, Feathering sat with her arms crossed.
参ったものだ。戦いを書くのは久しぶりでな。唐突にこのような展開で筆を預けられても困るというもの。
When I get stuck writing, I try to write in reverse. In other words, instead of starting at the beginning, I start at the end and go backwards from there. That way, it's easier to set up foreshadowing, and I can write the story with my vision for the end in mind. The only downside is that I have to suddenly start at the climax without setting up the story first.
とりあえず戦いの顛末から遡って書いていこう。ラムダデルタ教、そなたは私に敗れ生き絶える。
As Feathering said this, words were added to the massive group of letters that filled the frozen world. However, she was starting from the end, so there was a large gap between the new words and the old ones.
どんな姿でそなたは敗れるのであろうな。そなたの勇敢さにふさわしい勇壮な最後が良いだろう。こうはどうか。よくわからぬが何かに吹き飛ばされて本棚に叩きつけられ、獅子がバラバラに砕け散り、息絶えて暗闇に墜落して消える。なかなか派手な最後であるな。よし、これでとりあえずそなたの最後は決まった。
The blanks in the outline Feathering spoke of were being filled up. At the same time, Lambdadelta's figure was wiped out. After crossing her arms and thinking again, Feathering pointed in a random direction. Lambdadelta appeared, blasted away by something. and slammed its red eagle against the bookshelf feathering it.
さてここからこのような最後に至るまでの激しい戦いを執筆せねばならぬのだが、今の私は今日も見抜く通り少々酔いが回っている。その部分は今度改めて時間を設けてじっくりと執筆することにする。今はこれにて許せ。きっとそなたに気に入ってもらえる勇敢な戦いぶりを執筆することを約束しようぞ。
Feathering snapped her fingers. Lambdadelta had no idea what was going on. Before she could even blink, she was suddenly here, being slammed against a bookshelf.
何よこれ。
She couldn't comprehend the something that Feathering had killed her with. However, that was only natural. After all, Feathering herself hadn't decided what the something was. However, Lambdadelta did understand one thing. She was already dead. Streams of blood dripped from the corners of her mouth. Then, lines of blood appeared on her wrists and ankles, her elbows and knees. She looked like a marionette doll of herself.
私何に殺されたの。
まったくだ、ラムダデルタ卿。良いアイデアがあったら聞かせてほしいぞ。
この化け。
Still pinned against the bookshelf, Lambdadelta let her head slump. Her wrists, ankles, legs, arm, and neck each split into a separate part, and the marionette shaped like her lost its strings, falling in pieces into the depths below. Nothing remained. It was all swallowed up by the darkness beneath them.
化け物とは私をたたえる褒め言葉の一つであるな。
ラムダデルタ。
エンジ、見るな。お前は見るな。
Shedding frustrated tears, Angie closed her eyes tight. She must not look. The witch of the future must not accept Lambdadelta's defeat.
あいつはくたばってなんかいない。ただ勇敢だった。
分かってるわ。あのラムダデルタが負けるはずない。
Pop. At that moment, there was a slight sound, and the golden key that hung in the air shook. The seal had finally broken. Mador grabbed at it immediately. However, at exactly the same moment, a magical tremor spread throughout the vast key room. That tremor seemed to have shaken something inside my pocket. I stuck my hand in and found that the fragment Lambdadelta had given us to return to the Golden Line had shattered.
くそ、ラムダにもらったかけらが。
惜しかったわね。もう逃げ場はないわよ。
ベルンカステル。
ラムダがもう少し賢く立ち回っていたら、もう5秒は稼げていたかもね。そうしたらあんたたちはその鍵を手に黄金鏡に逃げ帰れていた。ラムダが主がバカだとミコも苦労するわね。
ほう。
Feathering quietly showed her surprise. To truly surprise her was no easy task. The Witch of Miracles, who boasted that no one could even step on her shadow unless she wished it, fell. After taking Battler's right fist to her face, she fell. Bernkastel's body immediately split into dust and reconstructed itself in front of Battler, as though nothing had happened. However, she was holding her cheek. She couldn't undo the fact that she had been hit. For the first time in 100 years, she had let someone tread on her shadow without her consent. Her face was gradually filled with shock. And Battlers? It couldn't be seen. His outstretched right arm was blocking it, so his expression couldn't be seen.
Nani?
取り消せ。
何を
She didn't let the next strike hit her. Bernkastel vanished like mist, then reappeared a short distance away. However, Battlor only missed by a hair's breadth. Not because she had intentionally made that happen, but for real. Finally, she truly began to feel the pain of being punched in the face. For too many years, she had forgotten the very concept of pain. Very slowly, it was coming back to her. Bernkastel writhed in anguish, holding her cheek. That feeling, forgotten for centuries, seemed to be hitting home hard. Battlor looked at her. Their eyes met. Once again, Bernkastel remembered the emotion she had forgotten for hundreds of years.
痛いか。俺の仲間を愚弄するお前の言葉の痛みはそれを超える。
And then, she shuddered. What Battlor saw before his eyes was Bernkastel shuddering for the first time in centuries. To Bernkastel's eyes, it hadn't even looked like Battlor rushing at her and punching her. It was as though she had been sucked towards where he stood with his furious fist raised. When her eyes had opened wide in terror, Battlor's massive fist had been all that she could see. Of course, he wasn't capable of anything. Bernkastel was just like a shadow. She dodged by moving instantly, leaving an afterimage, but mere teleportation wasn't enough to escape from Battlor's furious pursuit. True, trying to hit Bern was like enviously trying to hit the reflection of the moon on water with a stone. No matter how often you hit it, you can never smash the moon's reflection. However, Battlor hit it, and again, over and over, to prevent the moon from showing on the water's surface again. A fiercely thrown pebble sent ripples across the water surface. It broke through the moon's reflection, broke through the water surface itself, leaving even the bottom of the pond bare, breaking through everything. His certain willpower broke through to a miracle. A backwards kick that Battlor shot out without even looking behind him, split through into space. In that space, Bernkastel reappeared with a foot in her gut.
俺たちの勇敢な仲間を愚弄する言葉を取り消せ。
The Witch of Miracles fell. For the second time, she fell. Once, it would have been a miracle. Things that happen more than once aren't miracles anymore. Bernkastel understood. Battlor was capable of hitting her. Then, she fell, was slammed against the floor, got up on her hands and knees, and vomited. She threw up violently over and over. Her face was covered with pain and vomit and tears and snot. Then, she looked up at Battlor with a furious expression and howled. And she wasn't howling at Battlor.
Aurora! ミコがやられてるのよ！何を見てるのよ！やっつけなさいよ！
すまぬが、私はラムダデルタ教の最後を記すので忙しい。私は手を貸せぬのでね。お前たちが少し助けてやるとよい。
Featherine's guard, the cat overlords, now formed a different constellation. Then each drew a magic circle and began chanting.
この猫たちね、それぞれがみんなあんたのようなゲームの主人公の慣れの果て。どいつもこいつもそれぞれの勇壮な物語で主人公を務め、その勇敢なる物語に名誉を授けられ、アウローラの警護を許された。それぞれがね、国やら星やら宇宙やらの存亡をかけて戦ってきたのよ。あんたはせいぜい妹やら妄想の魔女やらとのゲームごっこがせいぜいじゃない。主人公の格が違うのよ。食らってくたばりなさい。ぶち込んでやれゲロカストだ。
Oh.
お兄ちゃん。
There are many spectacular magic spells that depict the beginning of a universe, the creation of planets, their destruction, and the universe's end, all in an instant. After that, not a speck of dust should have remained. However, when the smoke cleared, there was a person standing there. It stood there with his hand in his pocket, and his head hanging quietly. His face was in shadows and couldn't be seen.
お兄ちゃん。何よこれ。
Bador seemed to be completely uninjured. Not only were his clothes not burned, but his hair hadn't even been disturbed.
何よこれ。バカ猫たち全然聞いてないじゃない。
The cat overlords silently shook their heads, sending a short report to their master.
エンドレスナイン。
何ですって。
彼らの物語は誰にも邪魔できんらしい。すまぬが我が巫女よ、どうやら猫たちにもお手上げのようだ。
何が各界の魔王たちよ。あんたたちだってかつてはどこかのゲーム版の主人公だったんでしょ。それがこのざま。恥を知りなさいよ。
The cat sneered. From the very beginning, they had known that they wouldn't be able to do anything with him as the main character of this game world.
我が巫女よ、ゲーム版にて物語を紡ぐのはゲームマスターのみに許された特権である。それを主張された以上、私も物書きの端くれとしてそれを尊重せぬわけにはいかぬ。私は感激の立場に戻ろうぞ。
役立たず主。
バトラー、我が巫女がそなたの仲間を愚弄したことを謝ろう。そしてそなたのゲームを紡ぐ権利がゲームマスターであるそなたにあることも理解した。そなたの物語はそなたが紡ぐ。それもよかろう。だが我が巫女も今はそなたのゲームのゲームマスターでな。2人が同時にゲーム版を広げたらしい。一つのゲームに2人のマスターとはめったにないことだが、私はこの奇跡を喜んでいる。なぜならそなたたちの最後のゲームにふさわしいものになると確信したからだ。
タネ、ベルンカステル。
なるほどね。ゲームマスター同士が戦うのにそのゲームに乗っ取るべきだって言いたいのね。最初からそうだと言えばいいのに。
Bernkastel slowly got to her feet and made her body melt away like mist. Then she appeared in the air once again, facing Bador.
いいわ。あんたのゲーム版のルールで戦ってあげる。だが私はあんたたちほど悠長じゃないから。そして圧倒的に出題して瞬時に終わらせてしまうわ。私のお相手は誰？二人がかりでも一向に構わないわよ。お兄ちゃん、私も戦うわ。
来るな。
ト
前はそこで見ているんだ。そして今度こそ俺が伝えたかったことを理解しろ。
お兄ちゃん、それでいい？アウローラ、
私が立会人となろうぞ。我が巫女を打ち破れたなら、そなたらを黄金鏡へ送り返すことを約束しよう。
黄金鏡がまだ残っていればの話だけれどね。
俺はみんなを信じてる。
そうよ、ベアトやみんなが負けるはずがない。
なら強砲は早い方がいいわね。エリカ、報告を許すわ。いらっしゃい。
When Bernkastel snapped her fingers, Erica appeared with a bow.
お取り込み中失礼いたします、我が主。悪かったわね、エリカ。あなたがせっかく朗報を持ち帰ってきてくれたのに待たせてしまって。
お喜びください、我が主。黄金鏡が消滅しましたことをご報告申し上げます。
嘘だわ。
黄金鏡は完全に崩壊、瓦解し、その全てが虚無の海に沈んだことをご報告申し上げます。人間は愚か、幻想の住人に至るまでその全ては消滅いたしました。
嘘よ、私は信じない。
なら信じさせてご覧に入れましょう、我が主。これを。
Erica humbly presented an object wrapped in cloth. It shone with a golden light.
何かしら？黄金のリンゴかしら？
黄金鏡の主ベアトリーチェの心臓にございます。
ベアト。
Bernkastel pinched it between two fingers, held it aloft, and gazed at it.
こんな様になってもまだ動いているのね。かわいいわ、ベアトリーチェ。あんたというゲーム版を再び誰かが広げてくれるかもしれない。まだそう信じているのよね。
大丈夫よ、お兄ちゃん。私たちはベアトが討ち取られるところを見てない。あれはエリカたちの策略だわ。私たちの士気をくじこうという策略よ。あるいはベアトの策略だわ。やられたふりをして姿を変えているのよ。ベアトリーチェが、みんなが、黄金鏡が滅ぼされるわけなんてない。
そうよね。未来の魔女がそう信じればそういうことにもできるのかもしれないわね。だから見せてあげるわ。よく見ていなさい。1998年の未来の魔女。
Bernkastel threw the golden heart into the air like an apple. Then, with the blood-red blade of the sight that appeared in her hand, she split it. Oh.
ベアトリーチェは1986年10月に死亡した。よって彼女が生み出した黄金鏡は完全に滅び去った。黄金鏡に生かされていた。お前の親族たちも全員滅び去った。お前の父も母も、そしてもちろんバトラも二度とお前のところに戻り、お前の名を呼ぶことはない。未来の魔女には解釈を好きに変えて上書きをする力があるわ。でも一つだけどうあがいても書き換えられない事実がある。それが死よ。肉体的あるいは精神的な あらゆる概念の死をあんたは覆せない。過去の魔女が未来の魔女に食らわせることのできる唯一の真実の刃よ。
こらえろ、エンジェ。
でも
お前は受け入れるって決めたろ。誰も帰ってこなくても生きるとお前は決めたろ。
分かってるけど
Even so, a tiny sliver of hope had remained inside Angie's heart. Despite everything, if she was favored by some miracle, maybe someone would come home after all. It doesn't matter when. It could be 10 years later or 50 years later. It doesn't even matter if they've forgotten my face. I believe that someone might come back someday. And I decided to live with that tiny hope in my heart. Even though I accepted everyone's death, even though I saw it in the book of the single truth, I still thought that it wouldn't be so bad to believe in a miracle, just a little. A miracle you believe in, even though you know it won't happen, is hope. So, the witch who knew that miracles don't occur had ruthlessly torn that hope away.
泣くな。
分かってる。でも
あんたが今泣き言をささやくその兄もすでに死んでいるわ。
お兄ちゃんは死んでない。ここにいるもん。
泣くな、エンジェ。
でも
泣くな。
Okay. Bye.